Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, I feel like I owe you so much for the teaching, for showing me paths that I might not have known, and letting me know, though you helped in the reaching, how I paid for the lessons and the work was my own. You taught me to seek out the underground rivers, the voice of the grasses, the heart of the hills. And you taught me to see past the lies in the mirror, and to see through the depths when the surface was stilled. A sound and a fury, a laugh and a crying, a needle of truth in a haystack of lying. To find it's the goal, or to die in the trying, and you helped me along. You helped me along. The universe stretches its arms out forever. A riddle as vast as the ocean of time, and life seemed a pointless and futile endeavor, until you showed me how I could make it all rhyme. A sound and a fury, a laugh and a crying, a needle of truth in a haystack of lying. To find it's the goal, or to die in the trying, and you helped me along. You helped me along. Life is the passage from birthing to dying, a butterfly's journey, the wink of an eye, a scrap of bright paper the wind has set flying, and a teacher who's there when we dare to ask why. A sound and a fury, a laugh and a crying, a needle of truth in a haystack of lying. To find it's the goal, or to die in the trying, and you helped me along. You helped me along. Oh, you helped me along. You helped me along. Yeah. Kind of like you get used to a recording studio where when the song ends, you got to freeze, let the notes die out.
That's right. Well, that was a song by Arthur here, and we're Katie and Arthur, and probably most of the songs, or if not all of the songs we do on this show, will be Arthur's compositions. And
they're all in the key of what's going on here, and that's what this little show of ours is about.
Little show.
Little show. Let's be humble.
Well, actually, yeah, that's
try.
We're trying. That'll be one of the things we talk about here. Is that we think humility certainly is one of the most important lessons to learn in life, and that's kind of what teachers about acknowledging teachers and the learning, and that I like that about that song, that it's in the plural sense, that it's teachers. You know, you're not writing it about one teacher, but in really coming to the conclusion that that's what life is one big teacher, that there's teachers are there in every moment in life. There's some lesson to be learned, whether we're alert to it, and that's maybe the most important element of whether you're going to learn or not, is just whether you're seeing it as a teachable moment in the moment that it occurs.
Well, as we live in a perpetual state of ignorance, we think, that's almost complete, we're always, we should be open to teaching all the time, but, I heard someone say once, you can be 16 years old and think you know everything. Yeah. I mean, I certainly did. Nobody's more of a know-it-all than an adolescent. They've got it all figured out. Judgments are set in concrete.
Well, that's certainly a problem I've had in my whole life. I hate being wrong. I hate not knowing something, and that song's actually always been kind of difficult for me. Humility, learning to be humble, has been a very difficult lesson for me. I'm imagining right now a picture of myself at 7 years old. My family, we went on a trip to California. My dad was going to a conference, so they put a family vacation around it, and there's a picture of me standing in front of a cable car in San Francisco, and my my parents wanted me to pose, the standard tourist thing of helping it was where they turn on their circle, and it was helping to push the cable car in the circle, and I'm standing there with just this furious look on my face, like, you are not going to humiliate me by making me pose like a typical tourist.
It's a portrait of obstinance, and she's clutching her piglet,
Which I still have, actually.
Wind in the Willow's piglet so tight the thing is, its eyes are crossed.
But that's because it's like the idea of looking foolish, the idea of looking like I don't know something has been just anathema to me in my life. There, I can't even pronounce the word. And
someone say once that they thought that it was being foolish that people were most afraid of, and they said, no, it's the fear of thinking other people see you as foolish. That's really going public, whether they see you as a fool. So, I mean, this show's about ideas. It's very much about questioning. Katie and I have never been, I mean, when I was a little kid, I was never, one of my least favorite statements was, you do it because I said so. Wrong kitty to mess with. I definitely didn't go for that, mainly because I was spoiled, which I'm so grateful I was. It caused a lot of pain, but it also caused me to have this quest, this belief that life should really be a happy experience and a fun experience. And I mean, I knew when I was very little, there was something terribly wrong with the adult world. I mean, they wouldn't play enough. They wouldn't get out on the floor and tussle with you enough. There was just something wrong with them. They were so serious and, just unfun.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager and saying, I am not going to be like the adults I saw around me when I grow up. And I think a lot of people make that vow. And then something happens. We're all swirled into the matrix. And it's very hard to resist.
I like to say it's the conveyor belt. I mean, for instance, what really happens to adolescents, I think, is they realize that they're going to get kicked out of the nest, and the conveyor belt of life is moving, and there's a place for them on it that's going to go nonstop to the grave. And you're supposed to just take your unquestioning seat on this assembly line. And when you're leaving childhood behind, you're leaving the possibility of some kind of magic that we gave up. I had an experience of grief once out of a deep place in me. I'd never known it before. That I really missed my childhood. I felt I had really suppressed the grief of not being a child anymore. All that magic was gone. All those, something. And I discovered it again when I was 28 years old through an interesting experience, a life-changing experience. I found out that immediately, within a few hours, that there was an underlying punchline to life. And until then, like John Lennon said, before Elvis, there was nothing. Well, before that experience for me, there was nothing. I was a long-haired musician, committed, baby. I'm 64. You'll never take me alive. But I was a long-haired musician, making my living at music in San Francisco, and having a hip lifestyle, fairly well-read. Thought I had life pretty much figured out. And I found out in a few select hours that I didn't know anything. I couldn't even speak the next day. I was so overwhelmed by what had happened to me. I realized that I could have gone the rest of my life and gotten hipper and wiser and more sophisticated and all that stuff, and had no clue that this alternative existed, this alternative consciousness, state of awareness existed. Easily could have done that. But what I did was I stumbled into this magic garden through the low door in the wall, a lost lane end into heaven, to quote Thomas Wolfe, that still had all the childhood magic. All the idealism and purity of childhood was still there waiting for me. It's just been covered up by a bunch of superficial crud over the course of growing up.
Well, what I was thinking as you were saying that, Arthur, was that what we have when we're children is a sense of wonder because we don't have everything figured out. When we see something like the blue sky and we wonder, why blue sky? And as adults, we've been taught all these kind of half truths and half knowledge in our, schooling and our training. And so we think, well, we know why the sky is blue. It's, has to do with the then when you come around to it, you don't really know.
Oh,
but you
sure.
think you know, and you walk around like you know,
Water
and all
vapor
those
in the atmosphere.
and all that knowing gets in the way of the sense of wonder. And all of that thinking, is what gets in the way of the sense of wonder. And that's when we come back to humility. And why I think it is such an awesome lesson is that, that's what's returning us. That's what happened that day was you let go of all those beliefs you had about what is true, about what is so. And, we've just got this enormous edifice of beliefs that there's different layers of it in each of our lives. We have our individual beliefs, but that's built on a set of cultural beliefs that our entire culture shares. And it's because we're all sharing that same set of beliefs that we call reality, it's very hard to question because there's all this agreement about that is the way it is. And so when you do question the reality of that, you're treated as if you're crazy or there's something wrong with you because, everyone believes it. It must be so. And
Threatens social stability.
right.
Gets people in touch with, our work. We wrote a book called The Game of God, Recovering Your True Identity, back in 1993. And we proposed that the source of all fear is the unknown. And the source of all hatred is fear. But the source of those painful states, which are really the psychological equivalent of flight, fight, survival behavior, fear and hatred are very uncomfortable states, and they are sourced in not knowing. And because it's such a big, scary universe, we cling to our beliefs like they're the absolute truth. We live like they're the absolute truth, even when we're careful enough or clever enough to, throw in meaningless qualifiers like, I never claimed to know the absolute truth. Look how we live. Look how hard it is to change a behavior pattern. Look how hard it is for a society to change a custom. I'm 64 years old. I was in St. Augustine, Florida in 1964 and watched black people get their asses beat for wanting to go drink a Coke at a Woolworths fountain. And the people that were trying to stop the elimination of that evil were called every filthy name and accused of bringing society, the world as we know it, to its knees. It would end in catastrophe for society. No, it didn't. Just like the Vietnam War, you were a peacenik, Just like protesting against the hydrogen bomb and the environmental movement. Don't get me started, But you have to fight entrenched so-called knowing, And that our work is about challenging these preconceived notions. Like, how valid are they? What's really going on here? Who are we really? What are we really? This is what philosophers have been trying to do forever, and this is our little contribution here. We really appreciate URTV for letting us have the chance to do this. That's all my songs are about. Have been written since that magic day. I call it the day, the epiphany I had when I was 28 years old. It's what all my songs are about. And we're trying to show that what we're really looking for to unearth is that not acting like a child, but, except as you become as a little child again, you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. That's exactly what he was talking about. But it doesn't mean you go back to peeing in your diaper. What it means is you enter what we call the realm of objective mind, the next stage in human evolution, the greatest since the dawn of analytical thought. And that is utilizing the third option to flight, fight, survival behavior. And we'll talk about this more particularly in the love show. We're going to do a show about what love is. But just to throw it out there, there's an alternative to flight and fight, to fear and hate. And that alternative is face, not flight reality, not fight reality, but face reality and accept it. And that's what love is. So maybe we should get a song going here.
Well, we thought that this would be, since it's our first show, that we would do something about identity and who are we. And what about veils?
Okay.
That's about addressing kind of what we've been talking about creating we create a personality when we're putting together all the beliefs that form that structure of reality.
We have to. If you didn't develop a personality and join the crowd, they'd really lock you away in the smaller nut house instead of letting you walk around loose in the big one. 1, 2, 3. I see your true light shining through those veils of personality. Those veils you've worn so long, you've come to think of them as you. But there's something like cheap makeup on a lily of the field. They're the poorest imitation of the glory that is you. I know you hid yourself away and finally misplaced it as you strove to find a path into a life that was insane. Well, you were just a babe then, and your love was spilling over. But this world was all survival, just a sea of human pain. I know you've been hurt deeply. There was no way to avoid it. Not even those who loved you could escape the waking sleep. Even then, could they protect you from a world of sound and fury? No, they couldn't, and they shouldn't, for the game is hide and seek. Can you see the light? It is here. Through the ravening clouds in the deepest night, a city on a hill cannot be hid. It is there to see if we use the sight. There isn't much to do now except gather up the pieces of those dreams we long abandoned when our growing up began, and fold them to our hearts and love the hurtful, and love the pretty, and love this frail illusion as a little child again. Have mercy on the children hiding beneath these hard layers, for we were all once innocent and loving, true and kind. So let us learn to look beneath these scars of hard experience. The light is always waiting for our loving eyes to find. Can you see the light? It is here, dim, but it's here. Through the ravening clouds in the deepest night, a city on a hill cannot be hid. It is there to see if we use the sight. I see your true light shining through those veils of personality. Those veils you've worn so long, you've come to think of them as you. But there's something like cheap makeup on a lily of the field. They're the poorest imitation of the glory that is you.
So what is that song saying about identity? For me, it says, and the line is the cheap makeup on the lily of the field, that there's something inside each one of us that is the light, the true being. You know, one of my favorite authors, Ken Wilber, calls the ground unconscious, and other people call God. That is underlying everything, and that's inside us. And then what we do as we grow up and we build these personalities is that we're applying the cheap makeup on that underlying lily, that we're building this personality edifice that obscures the light. And the challenge for me in that song is not only to see it, to look through other people's cheap makeup and see their glory, but to remove my own and shine my light out, be the light on the hill. And that's so hard. It's so many reasons every day, not only for me to hide myself away, but also to have excuses for why I'm not seeing it in other people. There's lots of reasons, it seems like, all this not to see it in other people.
Well, it's really important to say that the erection of that personality structure is absolutely, we think, part of the game plan. There's nothing wrong or evil about it. Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is that, that doomsday clock that's ticking away. I mean, time, I think, is running out for humankind. That's what we both think. And it's time for us to really, get into the next stage of evolution, or we're going to likely perish. It's not looking good out there. And there is a sense of urgency. But there's nothing, our book, The Game of God, Recovering Your True Identity, posits that the universe is basically supreme intelligence in a state of amnesia. It's the only way the unlimited can experience limitation and thereby be unlimited. If infinite awareness of absolute truth or God or whatever you want to call it is an unlimited state, and we think that's what everybody means.
All powerful, all knowing, eternal, those sorts of things. That's infinite.
It's no limitations at all. The only conceivable limitation of that is being unable to experience limitation. But if the unlimited cannot experience limitation, that's a limitation. That's a contradiction. Mm-hmm. So in order to be absolutely unlimited, the unlimited must have the ability to experience limitation, and we suggest there's only one way that can happen. During the experience of limitation, you got to forget that you're unlimited. So from that, we theorize that the universe is limitation. Is the unlimited in amnesia. So the whole purpose of it is to experience limitation. The purpose of existence is to experience finite survival-based form, to experience life like your rear end depends on it. And so there's nothing wrong with ego, or there's nothing wrong with anything. Nothing wrong with World War II, or there's certainly nothing wrong with thermonuclear war leading to environmental collapse that it results in the extinction of the human race. The sun's going to burn for another 4,000 million years, they tell us, so we're told. So there's plenty of time to raise up another life form with the prerequisite of an expendable primary survival identity. I'm getting way ahead of myself.
You certainly are, because that sounds pretty radical.
Well, it's pretty radical. Look, we got astronomical photographs of galaxies exploding, taking who knows how many inhabited worlds and civilizations with it. Stuff happens, to put it politely,
yes.
in the old universe, and
there's, from my perspective, a lot of really positive ways results from having this theology, theosophies that we'll get to in other programs. But I think, what you're saying here, Arthur, is that
Thanks.
In the veils of personality, you talk about, could the ones who loved us, could they have escaped the waking sleep? Could our parents have stayed awake? No. And then even if they could they have, even if they had stayed awake, could they have shielded us from the world of sound and fury, which I noticed you also had in teachers. You like that phrase, sound and fury. But could they have shielded us from that? No, they couldn't, and they shouldn't, because the game is hide and seek, and that's what it's all about. It's not about when the old saw about it's not the arrival, it's the journey. But that's really I would say that's what the universe is all about. It's a game of hide and seek. And
Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living.
So if you already knew all the answers when you started, what fun would life be? So all that sound and fury, and that goes back to
a life
teachers.
told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That sounds like an academic. Certainly like an atheist. That's what they think it all is. It's nothing. There's no meaning behind it. Just a bunch of stuff banging together.
But that's what, I was going to say back to teachers, that that's what life is. For me, if the day I stop learning will be the day I will want to die. I mean, I may not actually be able to match those 2 days up perfectly. It's one of my goals, I guess you could say.
You start drinking heavily, doing heavy drugs.
I mean, what's the point? If you're not learning, if you're not growing, what's the point? So, that's what the universe is about, in my opinion, is starting from almost nothing, growing back to almost, to everything.
Everything you could chart, the whole story of evolution, you could tell it in terms of awakening consciousness, more sophisticated awareness. Duh. And there's no plan. You don't see a plan with that? I mean, if apoids like us can enjoy abstract conversations like this at this level of, at our level of consciousness, imagine civilizations, that have, past the crunch of blowing themselves to bits and have been around for 1 million years more. I mean, look, remember when computers didn't exist? How long ago was that? 20 years?
Really.
Imagine, becoming 1 million years more sophisticated than we are.
Or just 100.
100 years, yeah. We'll take 100 at this point.
So we come back to the question of identity, which is what this show sort of is about. But as you can see, there's so many ideas flowing around here that it's kind of hard to stay focused on anything. And partly also because they all intersect, that everything is related to everything. So it's easy to just to move off onto what is something else. But who am I? What is that? What does that question mean?
And why is it important?
Well, that's it also.
Well, see, the source of all fear is the unknown. We're here to know. That's the driving force of evolution, we think, is knowing, is discovering who we really are and what this really is, this thing called life, this universe of ours.
But do we really question our identity very often? I started a blog recently, and that there's this thing you have to say about me is the way they
blog
phrase
like
it.
a Facebook or something, category kind of thing.
Oh, a blog, just a blog.
Oh, you have to say about you.
Yeah, there's like a little thing on the side, and I kind of struggle with it because I don't identify myself as where I live or what I do, my work. Those things, they don't really seem sufficient to identify me.
Chunk of Big Bang material, 14 billion years in the process.
Yeah, I mean, so, what does it mean to say, who am I? I mean, where do you even start if you kind of jettison all those kind of the personality structure? What's lying underneath here that is the core of who I am? I mean, where did I come from? Where am I going?
Well, I like that one particularly. When you get to be 64, you start wondering, where am I going? Well, we pass them every day. They're called cemeteries. And it's another thing we don't let ourselves dwell on too much. Mustn't be morbid. Let's keep it positive.
I know. We'll have to do an entire show about death.
You will do it from a cemetery, that beautiful cemetery they have here in Asheville.
Yeah, it's
Riverview.
Riverside?
Riverside, yeah. I think it's River.
Thomas Wolfe's grave, whatever the name of the cemetery.
Such a peaceful place.
It is. Unless they put...
Compared to the land of the living cemetery. So underneath a really kind of a sane, quiet. The struggle is over. All doubts resolved, you know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's,
if
you know.
To dream, there's the rub, you know. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Well, maybe we should do True Believer.
Okay.
I was going to introduce, but, you know, there's one of my favorite bumper stickers. It says, the Bible says it. I believe it. That settles it. If only that were true, you know, but it isn't. We suggest in our philosophy that, you know, you know, that's where we go for the big answers as religion. I think, we do this. We try to find the answers now, but a religious belief is, you know, only takes you so far, and you wind up confronting the shadow, the void, the abyss. So belief ain't it. It's the difference between what we're after is the experience. It's like the difference between having a big conversation about love and then suddenly experiencing love. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay, True Believer. 1, 2, 3. By my deeds, I have been known. By my works, I am alone. Loveless harvests I have sown. Believing. Casting swine before the pearls. My ragged banner hope unfurls. And then a stumble when the wild wind hurls. Me reeling, yeah, it hurls me reeling. True believer, that's what I am. Believing in Jesus or the Buddha's plan. But believing's not feeling. Can you understand? No more can I say I love you unless I am. Like a fool, I showed my hand. Sure that they would understand. I'm sure you'll understand. And we would find the promised land all together now, believing. Oh, it seems I'll have to go alone. It's funny, but I've always known you gotta find that path all on your own, every step of the way by feeling, yeah, just by feeling. Oh, true believer, that's what I am. Believing in Jesus or Mohammed's plan. But believing's not feeling. Can you understand? No more can I say I love you unless I am. What the mind believes is true becomes true till we see through its limitations to a new beginning. Oh, what the mind believes is true. The only good Bosnian is a dead Bosnian. Becomes true till we see through its inevitable limitations to a brand new beginning, and a new beginning, and a new beginning, and ultimately there ain't no limits, true believer. Oh, that's what I am, believing in Jesus or the people's plan, up the people. But believing's not feeling. Can you understand? No more can I say I love you. No more can I say I love you. No more can I say I love you unless I am.
One of the things I've always liked about that song, and I've never asked Arthur this question, so maybe now's the time to do it. But is that no more can I say I love you unless I am, and for me that always reference to the point in the Old Testament. I believe it's Genesis. Shows my ignorance, but when Moses is on the mountain and he asks God what his name is, what will I tell the people who sent me, and God said, I am, and that to me is just so incredibly profound, because it means that, because a name is a label, a name is a belief, a name is a structure. But what God is saying there is that being, that what God is beingness. It's that ineffable quality of just existence. I am existence, and that when we talk about what is our identity, what is underneath here, is that beingness, existence, and that brings me to something that Arthur says is.
Well, that is true. It's a pun on that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
Unless I am in love with you, no more can I say I love you unless I am in love with you. But I am. It doesn't say in love with you. It's, no more can I say I love you because I am, unless I am, which means the presence of God. We don't use the G word very much anymore, but which is love. It's synonymous with love anyway.
But it just seemed like this kind of fit in with something Arthur says about the one thing that we can know, and that's when you kind of strip away all of our beliefs, that there's one thing left that we can know absolutely. Why don't you say that, because it's your thing? Okay.
Well, it's Well, first we should just look at know just for a second. The word know, K-N-O-W. We see that as an absolute state. To know means to know. One dictionary definition, I forget what reference, forgive us, but it was to know absolutely, without limitation, no qualifications. And we think that's really how, I'll just say it. To know is to know without limitation. When you say, or when I say, I know, that means I know. The Bible says it, I believe it, that settles it. I know. You're talking about God. I mean, it's like an ant looking at the exterior of the vehicle assembly building at the Cape with a space shuttle inside loaded with a Hubble Space Telescope. That's like the ant's understanding of what that is. Looking at the outside of the building, that's what our relationship with God or absolute truth, we humbly suggest, amounts to right now. Extremely limited, to put it kindly. So the only thing we suggest, that we don't know absolutely who we are, what we are, where we are, why we are, when we are, what we're doing, where we're going, or where we came from. Now that's ignorance. That's ignorant, folks. And it's a high state. Not knowing is a really high state. The problem that we're talking about is, there's a great definition of a word called an ignoramus or an ignoramus. And that was defined, I can't remember that dictionary either, but it was defined, an ignoramus or ignoramus is defined as a vain pretending to knowledge. We walk around in the matrix believing this is reality and we really know what it is. And we really don't. The only thing that we know absolutely finally back, I tend to go on. I'll try to do better. The only thing we know absolutely, and we humbly suggest, and if you can think of anything else we know absolutely, give us a call. Our number's on the screen, or email, and please contribute. I mean, your feedback. Don't send money. Not yet. We'll weasel that in later. No, we won't. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. They probably won't even let us on URTV for that.
No such thing as a joke, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, the only thing we know absolutely, and don't pick the word apart, is, you know, something's happening at this location. So here, and this, behind these eyes, all I know absolutely is something's going on. I have 1 jillion definitions and labels and value judgments and opinions and philosophies and religious input and stuff that I've picked up through this lifetime, at least this lifetime, that I know about it, or I think I know, or I believe about it. But the truth is, when you pick any area, I mean, the greatest scientist in the world will be the quickest to tell you he or she doesn't know what 1 dot of matter, wave, whatever is. Nobody knows. So that's the only thing we know absolutely is something's going on. And so...
Well, so the reason I asked Arthur to go through that was because linking it back into that I am. So when we ask who are we, if this is true, what Arthur just said, then all I know is I am. All I can say is existence is happening here at this location. That is maybe the core of all that is beingness, existence. So everything else that I think I am is really unreal. But the one thing that is real is being here now. As a matter of fact, that's kind of funny.
So the next time you have to fill out paperwork, just write I am on it.
I just write I am. That's right.
Obviously we have to hang on to our labels and all that stuff for convenience in this life, but it's always nice to keep the humility in mind that the truth is we really don't know, which opens all sorts of possibilities instead of just being stuck with a lifelong.
Make a statement about something you said in the middle of that rap, which is the not knowing. You made it kind of sound like ignorance is a good thing. That being, and what we're talking about here is awareness of our ignorance. If you're in a state of ignorance, that is not a high state.
It's a painful state.
It's a painful state. That's where the fear and hatred come from. But what we're talking about is something different, which is an awareness that in every moment, and the way I try to practice this in my life is just question my assumptions. Question my, if, let's see, it's snowing today, so I can't go to the store. Is that, where I think that's a bad thing, but maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. And, and
we
that's
could stay here and do this TV show.
That's right. These are, it seems like a small thing, but I mean, that's how you can start practicing it. It's just every time your mind throws up an opinion about something.
As it were. Good way to put it.
Oh, really? Is that true? Am I right?
Is that absolutely true?
Do I really know that's true? Because, how many times a day am I wrong? A lot.
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. And so, if you just, but we go through life, I think that's personally a lot of our pain and suffering comes from the rigidity of our believing that our beliefs are correct. And because we don't question them, we walk around expecting our assumptions to bear fruit the way we think they should, and when they don't, which is pretty often, then we're disappointed and crushed and hurt and angry and all those things, and it's just because we were rigid. We walked around rigid in our beliefs. There's nothing wrong with reality in and of itself. It's just our perception of reality that's flawed.
Yeah, I think we're here to experience limitation, but we're not supposed to stay in limitation forever. In our book, The Game of God, excuse me, we say that the 3 purposes of the universe in order of appearance are 1, survive as form, which we're obviously doing. I'm sorry, no, that's not the first. The first one is exist as form, as a distinct form And the second is survive as that form. And those have been going on since the Big Bang, as far as we can tell. But the third is transcend survival as form. And that involves something called enlightenment, and it involves loving. Well, I don't want to get into love yet. We'll do that next time. Why don't we do another song in the key of Who Are We?
Well, how about, well, we have Bend Like a Willow. It kind of follows along with what I was just saying.
Yeah.
But
accepting reality as
it's not really
dealt to you.
So much identity, but
yeah, that's all right. Let's do that in what, A again?
B
or
flat?
B flat?
Let's go to B flat.
Katie had the idea for this song. It's it means what it says, bend like a willow. That reality. We define reality as what is, not what we think is, or what we believe is, or what we hope is, or what we wish wasn't. But what actually is. I mean, that's the objective reality of trees. Ouch, pain.
That's right. Guitar heads.
Guitar heads.
Well, I just say, as I was saying before about the rigidity of beliefs, if I wake up in the morning, I've got my plan about what my day is going to look like. And the more rigid I am about if it follows that path, I'm happy. If it goes against that path, that plan, I'm unhappy. I end up being unhappy a lot. But the more I bend with the way things go, the more I allow my plans to be altered by reality, the more much happier I am, and really the more effective I am. I would argue, and I will argue, other times, the more effective I am in my day and dealing with things, because as long as I'm being rigid and saying, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, well, how can I be dealing with what's happening if I'm rejecting its very existence?
That's right. That's flighting reality or fighting reality, those states again. And if you're dissatisfied with what already exists, which is manifest reality, that goes a long way toward our definition of insanity, which is the state of confusing our subjective opinions with objective fact. So what we're going to consistently stick with is that objective reality exists. Water's wet, rocks are hard. That stuff really exists out there. We don't need to question whether it exists or not. I think a lot of philosophy is wasting a hell of a lot of time trying to establish that. Let's don't worry about that. Let's assume that we really do have hydrogen bombs aimed at each other, and those things can really, devastate and potentially wipe out the human race. Let's just leave that alone. I mean, you could have that vehicle assembly building, and you could import some lost tribe of Borneo, a tribes member, to the Cape. And they would come up to the vehicle assembly building right next to the ant. And they may not know what it was at all, but they wouldn't walk through the wall. They would respect that physical, objective reality. And that's so we say that exists. So accepting that is, we think, what enlightenment is. And an integral part of objective reality is our titanic ignorance. So our limited knowing. Fool on the hill. Oh, man. Okay, here it is. Bend like a willow. 1, 2, 3. And all my life I've tried to find a place where I could be secure within a center that was calm and trouble-free. Thought the peace I sought was realizing this desire. Tried so hard to get there, but my hope began to tire. Then I learned the secret, simply letting what is be, accepting what the wind of life is blowing down to me. Going with the flow, I find a peace that's bound to last. Now is all the time I have to love before it's past. I gotta bend like a willow in the wind that's blowing free. I gotta bow to the current that we call reality. Like a child, I thought that life should give me what I want. Every wish be granted and no difficulty haunt.
Why not?
I believe that one day when I realize this dream, I'd at last be happy in this fickle changing stream. What we call reality is right here in the now. And when I don't accept it, doesn't change it anyhow. All that non-acceptance does is bring on fear and hate. Insane is the one who cannot face the fruits of fate. I gotta bend like a willow in the wind that's blowing free. Gotta bow to the current that we call reality. More than once I've raised my fist and shook it at the sky. Curse this path of seeking out the wherefore and the why. Longing for the dawn while clinging to a starless night. Girding for the battle and then running from the fight. Life is like the wind, it's sometimes gentle, sometimes rough. And anytime I hate the way it is, well, that's just tough. When I can't allow what is to be, I found the way. When I can embrace the now, I rise above the fray. I gotta bend like a willow in the wind that's blowing free. I gotta bow to the current that we call reality. I've gotta bend like a willow in the wind that's blowing free. I gotta bow to the current that we call reality. That we call reality. And it's so hard to do.
Oh,
my
sure.
God. I was spoiled. I believed I should get what I want every time and no consequences. And
Yeah,
life
he's
should be an endless,
only
picnic in the park.
child.
Only child.
Yeah, actually, I kind of think of that about the future of this country and the future of the world. Really, is a whole world of only child. What?
Spoiled brats. Is that
Yeah,
what you're trying to say?
we could be in serious.
That's America you're
trouble.
talking about.
I've heard that song many, many times, and even still, every time when he sings that line in the third verse, any time I hate the way it is, well, that's just tough. It makes me laugh. I can't help myself but laugh. I even try not to sometimes.
Double entendre big time, that one, because it is tough. It hurts like hell. And it's objectively, it's tough, tough. I can't say that. Tough, you know what?
I think that for me,
Good Lord, tough titty, give me a break.
one of the reasons I
Tough titty,
laugh.
said the kitty when the milk went sour.
Well, for me, because I'm a very practical person, I'm very practically minded. Whenever there's a problem, my first thing is, okay, let's try and figure out how to solve it. that's the way my mind works. And so for me, that's, maybe that's the best reason for bending like a willow, is because, hey, how many times have I bashed my head against the wall of wanting it to be some other way than it is, and it is the way it is. And maybe I bashed my head against the wall one time too many, or one time just enough to realize that, you've been down that road. You've seen what bashing your head against the wall does. Nothing. You wake up. That's one of my favorite lines from the movie Apollo 13. Is when they've come around the backside of the moon, and his two crewmen are fighting over why they're in this predicament and what to do about what's going to happen and all the horrible things. And Tom Hanks, the commander, says, look, gentlemen, Jim Lovell, thank you. I know, I couldn't remember. I knew he would. What's your intention here? I want to get back home, so let's, we can bash our heads against the wall for another 30 minutes, so we're going to be right back here in the same place with the same reality facing us. So put aside, all this, subjective nonsense about the way you wish it would be, or who's at fault, or why it shouldn't have been this way, and let's get down to addressing what is.
Well, I'll tell you why I do it, why I bash my head against the wall and always try to. It's like the belief that you know, the greasy wheel, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You know, like if I start screaming, you know, like the doctor's walking toward me with a hypodermic. You know, if you cause enough fuss, you know, you'll maybe get out of it. You know, that by bashing your head against the wall maybe one time, the wall will give way and you'll stick your head through the hole you made into paradise. And what was Einstein's definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And yeah, I'm kind of worn out at 64 because I've fought reality and dreamed of it being some other way than it was. An awful, the great majority of my life, frankly. But it's never worked.
And other people might be thinking, well, so what you're talking about here is just kind of lying down and letting reality roll over you. I mean, if you're not fighting back against bad things, then you know you're just going to allow evil to happen, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about dealing with things the way they are, and then that includes the word dealing with. You know,
and you start dealing with the way things are by facing the way things are, by perceiving objective reality and accepting it exactly the way it is.
Right, because if I'm living in some kind of delusional thinking about the way I wish things were, how effective are my actions going to be in the real world? Because my actions are based on delusions. And if I'm basing my actions on reality, on the way it actually is, then my actions are going to be much more effective. And that's, you know, the basic, like I said, the pragmatic thinking about this is, you know, if we want to be effective agents of change, well, let's start from where we're at. And that's what Bending Like a Willow is about. It's just is being there in the moment with the way it is, which is hard. If I look like I'm preaching, I'm not. And I struggle with all the time. Depression, that's a dandy way of unhappiness with the way it is. It's just, it never goes my way.
Maybe if you do that enough, reality will change. You know?
Right, that's right.
That God will have mercy and send a legion of angels down to blow in our ear and pat us on the butt or something.
We can live in hope.
Hey, you know, we're out of time. We're down to like 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We don't have time enough to do another song. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, we didn't get to everything on the list, but...
Yeah, we didn't. Is there anything we can do really fast?
You could do Relatively Speaking at double... I could just cut you off since you're going to do that one by yourself.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I could do this. This is one I wrote. This is my near greatest hit. John Denver recorded this. I actually rewrote the melody, but I like my melody better, so I'm going to do that version. Relatively speaking, you make me who I am. I need you exactly like the ocean needs the land. I need you like sunlight needs the shadows and the night. I need you the way love needs a savage, hurtful fight. Relatively speaking, I'm nothing without you. You are where I've been before, and you're where I'm going to. You are living out my dreams, and you are all my fears. You evoke my laughter, and you unleash every tear. And the rich ones need the poor ones. The black ones need the white. The sinners need the pure of heart. The blind need those with sight. And the sick ones need the well ones. The living need the dead. Heaven needs its hell, you know, and love needs lonely beds. Relatively speaking, the contrast makes it go. Every action taken is related in the flow. Stars and losers, kings and fools go dancing hand in hand. Relatively speaking, you make me who I am. That's it. We got 27 seconds.
So we hope you'll tune in again and look at some more questions of meaning with us. Thanks.
Thank you for being with us.